What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? He would ask me questions about myself, then cut me off in the middle of my answer to talk about himself. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I think I'd like telekinesis, because I have a friend like that, and my cousin does this often too. It's like they bring it up so they can talk about it, but don't realize that you can just say what you want to say, instead of bait and switching with who gets to talk. I love them both dearly, but fuck, it's so annoying. Bragged about how she was leading on a few guys, so she always had a backup. Fat yikes. I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home, blocked his number, and never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. The mom is the secret MVP of all this, but maybe not, because her kid needs help? She told me her future plans to essentially become a gold digger like her mother. When I laughed it off, she couldn't see what I thought was so funny. Step 1. Maybe don't confront the guy with it like that. I ran into an old crush a few years back who told me he was into dog baiting. The candle had blown out a long time ago as far as my crush was concerned, but that pretty much killed any intention I had of trying to restart our friendship. I'll bite. What's dog baiting? From my experiences seeing this sort of it in the Philippines, you'd have a dog in a cage chained in the middle, and an animal, like a cat or whatever, would be thrown in. The dog is trained to maul the frick out of the victim animal. I believe bets are placed on how quickly or slowly the dog can kill the victim. I thought bait dogs were the ones they used to teach the fighting dogs how to be vicious, like they were failed fight dogs, so now they are used for practice and sometimes distracting a dog from another one. I'm not super sure though. A bait dog and dog baiting are related, but different things. A bait dog is what you said, and is used for dog fight training. Dog baiting is when a, usually large and potentially dangerous, animal is chained in the middle of a ring and dogs are let loose to basically torture it to death. Ask me to be their wingman, because they had a crush on my best friend. Oof, same thing happened to me. Then when I moved on, he started being excellently inappropriate and bullied me, only when my best friend and my boyfriend weren't around. To this day I don't know why I was ever attracted to someone like that. We were driving down the road and she threw a Starbucks cup right out the window. Gross. Litterers should be turned into goddamn trees. She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work, because it wasn't satisfying enough. It's amazing how much horrible stuff you can fit in one sentence. This feels like a gobstopper of implications. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. It's like an ogre of implications. I don't want any of those layers anywhere near me. She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work. Interesting thing to bring up, because, I'm not sure I need or want an explanation. It wasn't satisfying. This is where it gets really weird. Why would she expect it to be satisfying enough? Oh boy! This one word changes the last segment, and it's this word that gets worse the more I think about it. He talked about how he wanted to loosen up some boring family at a wedding reception, so he spiked their drinks with party drugs. Did you go on a date with Bill Ponderosa? Pondy is the coolest. Speaking as a boring person, that's terrifying that someone would do that. Gave me a 5-minute lecture on conditions where cheating is okay. I doubt that they'll make sense, but I'm curious what the proper conditions are. When it's in a realistic VR video game with your homie, thirsty ass Carl. He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. I once knew a girl, back in the 1980s, who told me how she made money going to the bar, because all these other people went home and just left all this money sitting on the bar. So, she scooped it up. She sounded very smug and proud of herself. She might actually just be stupid. Thought it was people forgetting their money there. Oh, that's totally what she thought. And she was a waitress. A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet, and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow, and basically her parents began pushing her out the door, and it was a stressful situation for her, and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. She generalized everyone. She was also such a bitch to everyone that she didn't understand. He plays video games? Wow. When do you think he'll move out of his mother's basement? Wow. She wears so much makeup, can you imagine what she's hiding under that face? Just such a mean-spirited person, and it completely turned me off. I had a friend like that. Extremely judgmental. She always said, "What? I'm blunt. You know that." But God forbid anyone was ever blunt with her. I eventually stopped talking to her. She wasn't blunt. She was bitchy. This is the same friend that told me my anxiety and depression were all in my head and I could make it go away if I really wanted to. Ironically, a few years later she started having panic attacks and meltdowns and had to take the same meds she told me I didn't need. Got so drunk at a party that she hit herself. The smell is really what did it. A guy who was a straight-up doppelganger for Bradley Cooper had a massive crush on me. He was funny, smart, educated and accomplished. I could never get over how I had, on 2 separate occasions, seen him piss himself drunk. Just like in A Star is Born. Maybe he was just reenacting the scene from the movie. I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on, ever. I've been a spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short of unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge and he found out I was no longer married. He was still married to his wife, with a baby on the way. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. Shat on a stage in Lourdes in Spain. How can you give us a little story behind that? Well, me and some mates went on a trip to Spain after our leaving cert and there was a stunning looking girl that got all the attention. The hotel set up a let's get to know each other party with all sorts of drinking games, and later that night, when she was blatantly very drunk, she lifted her skirt and took a dump on the dancing stage. She instantly lost every guy's attention and was laughed off the street for the rest of the stay. Wow. She knows who she wants and how to find them, and they happen to not be present that night. Played hard to get. No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me 4 days at a time and then get pissed off when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. Shows how hard to get can easily turn into hard to want. Yeah, it's a real quick 180. If you're out of high school, you're too old to be playing that hard to get it, to be honest. Made fun of my smile. This, and making fun of somebody's laugh, are two of the most fricked up things that a person can do. It serves no purpose except to make someone feel self-conscious every time they are enjoying themselves. Agreed. I had someone point out that my nose twitches when I talk and laugh, and not in a AWH that's cute way. More of a oh my god guys look, her nose twitches when she talks. Luckily I forget about it most of the time, but 2 years on and it still bugs me. I made it 20 years not knowing. Time. For context, him 6 feet 4 inches, built dude, me 5 feet 0 non-built lady. We were hanging out at his house when he jokingly blocked my way when it was time for me to go and wouldn't let me pass. I asked him to let me by, when he wouldn't. I told him I was uncomfortable and he called me a crazy bitch. That was the end of that for me. That is a huge red flag. Creepy. Sounds like he was testing the waters. That'll be a hard no for me. Thanks. Cute girl in 9th grade. There was a party over at her house, out in the country. Had a big ol' lake crush on her. So, she says they raised chinchillas. Okay, everyone wants to see the fuzzy critters. There were about 100 of them. The ammonia smell was unreal. So there's a platform with battery cables on it. And I asked what that was for. She said, "Here, I'll show you. Have some ready to go anyway." She grabbed a little fuzzy critter, clamped the cables on it and threw the switch. Without missing a beat, killed the critter. It was bizarre that a teenage girl could electrocute an animal that easily. No more crush. I was actually afraid of her a little after that. It kind of sucked the life out of the party, to say the least. Why did they have a chinchilla murder station anyway? Probably for the pelts. Things I didn't need to know. $4.200 please. Alex, you're paying way too much for chinchilla pelts. Who's your pelt guy? Called another clearly beautiful girl ugly behind her back. If a girl talks others behind their back, I tend to believe they'll do the exact same about me. So that's definitely a no-go. Reddit always tells me that no one is paying attention to me. They're too busy with their own lives, etc. But they're wrong. They do talk about you behind your back. Called me a exist for pointing out that she was improperly and dangerously using a power saw. I mean, I get that a lot of guys probably talk down to women using tools, but for frick's sake, she was so close to losing a hand or worse. I personally will take any advice saving me from death. dismemberment, or any related bills. From someone who would appreciate it. Thank you. I use power saws nearly every day at work. Construction. I'm a big supporter of the 2-inch rule. Never put your hand or any other body part within 2 inches of a moving blade, unless there are appropriate guards in place. A lot of the older guys scoff at me at work when I refuse to make a cut that puts my hand closer than 2 inches to the blade, but frick 'em. I like my fingers on my hands and my blood inside me. 2 days after our first date, she showed up at my work with a pan of homemade lasagna, an ice cream making machine for my kids, and all kinds of groceries. I was a single dad at the time, and I guess it was some sort of care package for me. I also work about 2 HRS from where she lives. When I said she didn't have to do that, she started to cry. Bit of a red flag. Are you sure she isn't from an anime? It's not like I made it for you or anything. I just had leftovers of it to get rid of. Don't think it's actually a gift or something. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.